anything that looked like a hatch or anything like that up top. I just couldn't tell you. But on that same property now, I woke up one night. I went to bed in my bed and woke up one night on the sofa facing the wall with my back to a large picture window. Now, outside of our window is nothing but state forest, our property, and then state forest. There's no roads out there. So as I'm coming to and I'm sitting up, I notice these flashing lights, and it looks like maybe there's police outside, but that doesn't make any sense because they're on the wall and they're projecting my shadow, which means the light's coming from our property or behind our property in the state land. So I turned around and saw another craft. And I know this is going to be hard for some of the listeners to believe that this would happen to me twice, but nevertheless it did. Both of these are what they would consider a close encounter of the third kind because they were both within 500 feet. However, I really only call the first one a close encounter of the third kind because I was out in the open under it and not in a structure. So anyway, to continue on, I see a triangle type craft hovering flat, and I can see lights that are like running, like the colors are changing and they're running down the sides of it. And it then, at that point, shortly after that, I turned all the way around and I was kind of on my knees with my arms on the back of the sofa looking, trying to focus on what I was seeing and trying to figure it all out. And the craft turns upward, the nose comes up, and it's upward, and now it looks like, like a pyramid shape. It's a triangle sitting, and a symmetrical triangle sitting on one of the angles on the bottom. And in the center of that is a large glowing orange type ball with sort of foggy diffuse light around it. That within seconds, that detached from the main craft and went around to the left side, its right side, my left, and went off towards the trees into the state forest and continued off into the state forest. I watched that until it cut behind the larger craft, and then that craft pivoted. It stayed upright, vertical like that, but it went to the other angle, which was one of the side angles. And then at that point, it leveled off again like it was when I first saw it. And then when it did that, it was the one in the background was no longer obscured, and I could actually see it, say 200 yards away in the trees. I could see the forest illuminating, and I could see the ball itself, the glowing ball itself. It went from left to right, and then went far enough into the woods that I lost sight of it. So I got up to go get my grandfather, because I lived with my grandparents. I got up to go get my grandfather, but when I stood up, I noticed that I could see it again, and it was coming back. So I didn't go get him. I got back onto the sofa there and kind of on my knees and my arms on the back and just watched. And that came, the orb-shaped vehicle came back and was like absorbed by the larger one. It went underneath it, and it went right up inside of it, although this bottom of it still showed. The glow diminished, but it was still glowing. It lifted, and the triangle, the main craft lifted and then turned slightly and again headed out towards the town of Rainier. I went outside at that point, went around the house, and stood there. I lost sight of it. By the time I got out, it was already gone. I don't know how it accelerated, how fast it did, or what direction, if it kept going the same direction, or if it changed directions. I don't know anything about that. But I stood outside for quite a while wondering if it would come back. I think I even said, out loud, I hope you come back. I don't know why, but I think I wanted to see more. I was really interested in what was happening. I was freaked out by what was happening, but very interested. And I noticed that, again, no aircraft from the Air Force Base or from anywhere in Fort Lewis. No aircraft that I could see followed. Nobody that I know of witnessed that. At least, if they did, they didn't say anything.
Yeah.
So I was the only one I know of that saw that.
Can you give us a time frame of when this approximately happened?
That was probably 80. It wasn't long after the first one.
Okay. Now, just to recap, you're saying that this thing was like a pyramid shape, but a triangle pyramid? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, not like a pyramid like the pyramids, but when it kind of stood up on end, it had the silhouette of a pyramid, a big triangle, and it didn't like dip in on the back, so there was no definitive back to front. Every point looked the same. Every side angle looked the same. On the top was very low profile. So what I call the top anyway, the glowing ball thing was underneath, and it was thick enough on the upper, what I call the upper part. It was thick enough for that to go up inside of it and still have some space. But that seemed to be not an angle like a triangle, not like a straight angle. That was more rounded on that side, and I didn't get the impression by looking at it when the smaller one was going inside of it. I didn't get the impression that the bottom was raised as the top one was, as the top of it was. I didn't get that. It looked fairly flat where that was going in. So, and I did notice, and by the way, when the smaller one left and went out, the side lights on it went out. The side lights came back on after it came. The small one came back in, and after it lifted up some, then the lights took, and they were not like running lights down the side. They were stationary lights, and if I remember correctly, it was sort of a white and a yellow ones that were on at that point. I didn't see any more red ones at that point. So that was an interesting thing as well.
All right, Mike, hang on just a second. I want to let you know ahead of time here, since we're having to kind of do something different technologically wise for me to even call in here from the North Cascades. I'm on a handheld cordless phone that looks like it might be dying in the batteries. So if I disappear on you, what we'll do is have Gary Tombstone Anderson from the board op there at Night Dreams Talk Radio give me a Skype call back, and I will try to give him the other phone number that he can call me at on this other phone that might work. But while I've got you on the phone and while we're still alive here, this craft that looks like a triangle thing, if you put your arm out or thumb out at arm's length distance, would this thing have covered, your thumb covered it, or would your hand covered it? How big was it?
No, it was bigger than the first one that I had witnessed. So I would say, like, I don't know, maybe 5 to 6 road widths. It was much larger. But the spherical thing that came out of it was not very big. I would say only comparatively, I would say that was probably only a single road width, or maybe a little less. It wasn't all that big comparatively.
Yes, okay, but if you, for instance, put your hand out at arm's length, would it have been as wide as your palm of your hand, your 5 fingers?
The spherical part of it, the glowing part or round part of it, when that was out of it, my hand would have blocked it.
Just barely, or would it have been...
no, it would have completely blocked it. My hand would have covered it. So there may have been some on each side of my hand, but not much.
Okay. Well, that is still quite big. Anything bigger than your thumb at arm's length is either very huge or very close, one of the two.
Well, it was very close. So, and I would say like I said, one road width or a 2-car road width or less. It wasn't all that big. And again, through the window, which, by the way, this also was in the summer, and the window was open, so it was just a screen, I heard no noise, no hum, no mechanical noises, nothing. I heard nothing. But the interesting thing is, I went to bed in my bedroom in my bed, and woke up on the sofa. I don't know when or how I got out there. So I don't know if I woke up in the middle of the night, went to get a drink, and just went right back to sleep, and I don't remember that, or what. But I woke up and sat up on the sofa, not in my bedroom.
That's the same night that you saw this craft, is what you're saying.
Yes. I woke when I first noticed it. I had woke up and was on the sofa and sitting up with the flashing lights, making my silhouette, my shadow on the wall in front of me. And I turned around and saw what was outside. So after all of this, and I came back in, I woke my grandfather up, and I told him what I just experienced, and he said I was dreaming. Go back to bed. So next morning, when I went back to bed in my bed, and the next morning when I got up, I had dirt and all the stuff in my bed. So I was outside at some point. So I'm convinced that was not a dream.
Oh my!
What I experienced really happened.
So you're talking trace evidence, physical trace evidence, actually, of something else that went on that night. So, yeah, either I got up on my own or there was something else going on. But I have never had any flashbacks or any weird things that have happened or anything associated with that I am aware of. So I know a lot of people experience those things. I'm not one of them. Well, and that kind of brings up the question of your, what's your opinion of the idea of the hypnotherapy, regressive hypnosis, to try to sharpen your memory, or anything like that you might be able to dredge up some either good or bad memories. I don't know. What's your opinion on that?
Well, nobody's ever offered to do that. I did, however, try to get a hold of Bud Hopkins at the time because he was in Seattle, and was not able to get through him. He was doing like a town hall thing there, and was not able to get through to him to talk to him. And after that, I tried a couple more times and never was able to connect with him. So these are things I just kept to myself the rest of the time through the years. But again, same with Bigfoot. After this, I've seen several things in the sky. I can tell you some more stuff, but this was up close and personal. And again, another twist in my life. It really changed things for me. So I was still not over the first sighting when this one happened. So. I mean, and my family teased me, it'd be around a campfire, and they say, hey, Mike, talk about your alien Bigfoot friends, and they would embarrass me, and so I kind of just kept it shut for a while and didn't talk about it.
Yeah, I'll bet. That's what many people do experience when they try to share what happened to them, especially from their own family members sometimes. That's a very difficult situation to be in. So at this point in your career, your life, you've had some very dramatic UFO sightings. And then tell us at this point, from this point on, how did you then get into also the Bigfoot investigations and sightings?
Okay, well, I had my original one, and then after that, the UFO stuff. So at that point, after really being teased about it and everything, I just kind of went quiet about it. But I was keeping up with reading what I could, watching what I could on TV. And boy, I wish we had the internet back then because I would have so much access to stuff. And then, just keeping up with it on a private level. And so anything that would come up, I would try to find out as much information. Any sightings people had, I would try to find out as much as I could about it. Get as many details as I could. So I did this for many years until I got to be an adult, and then really started researching on a whole nother level. at that point, I had, sorry about that, hold on, talk for a